Hello, friends, families, and strangers. Actually, I'm gonna shut the door because I feel self-conscious. I know my audio quality was really bad in the last video, so I got this lav mic. Once again, I know very little about microphones and technology, and so I don't know how well this is actually going to work out. It's not even Bluetooth because this camera doesn't have like a Bluetooth. Well, it said it did, but I don't know if it does. But I'm connected to this wire, so hopefully I don't break anything while I film this. You might have heard in my last video that I got a camcorder. I'm still figuring out how to use it. I've never really been tech savvy. Because I got the camcorder, I wasn't tied down to the monitor. I've always been really inspired by Carrie Can Read or Lexi, aka I believe it's Newly Nova, it's Lexi Newly Nova. I've always been really inspired by their reading vlogs, and I was like, you know what? I have a bunch of physical copies of books that I need to read. Let me make this like reading challenge, and then I'll do a vlog where it's really aesthetic and I can give updates throughout the process of reading. I am just not at that level when it comes to technology and editing, because I started editing a bunch of the clips together. I got like pretty far into it. None of them really meshed well, and I didn't have B-roll of me reading that I could put nice music to, and even if I did, I don't know if I could figure out how to edit nice music into it. I'm just not at that level yet in my skills with editing and camera usage. In all honesty, I was just mostly more comfortable sitting in front of my camera talking to it than I was like setting it up to film random clips of me throughout the week, you know, in different locations. It was just easier for me to sit down and talk to the camera. And I think that's where I'm going to stay for a while. That also means that I have about half of a video that I am not happy with, and I have a bunch of different clips of me talking to a camera already edited, and I just don't really want that on my channel. We're going to kind of sit and talk through what I was trying to do, still give you reading updates about the books that I've been recently into, I guess, and kind of explain that aspect, but then also kind of explain why it didn't really work for me. Because I feel like I set a challenge, I set a goal for myself, and I just never finish those kind of challenges. And it's not just reading, it's any kind of challenge when it comes to diets, workout challenges, you know, TikTok challenges, things like that, where I see a lot of other people do it and I want to copy them. I want to do the things that they're doing. And I set those goals for myself and I just never reach them. And I'm really bad at routine, and I'm really bad at following through with the things that I say I'm going to do. And on one hand, you should want to challenge yourself to finish those things. And on the other hand, if it gets to a point where trying to complete the challenge is stressing you out or affecting your day-to-day life or making you lose happiness in the hobby that you're doing, that's when you should maybe not do that. First, the whole challenge that I wanted to do was, I have about 8 books currently on my shelf that I have not read, and they've been sitting on my shelf for a very long time. And a few of them are on my shelf because, you know, I picked them up and at the time I thought I was going to read them, and then I just kind of got out of the mood of whatever the book was. Some of them I'm really intimidated by because I really, really want to like them, but I've been disappointed by some books that I thought I was going to really like, and so I just, you know, haven't read them. He's going to jump up onto the window, aren't you? And then I have some other books that I just haven't gotten around to. So I really wanted to challenge myself to finish these books. Now, I personally do not like having copies of books that I don't 100% enjoy. I'm not a collector. I mean, I do have a few different bookshelves worth of books, but I'm not the kind of person who wants a collection. I don't want multiple copies of the same book. I don't want, you know, the collector's editions of books. I don't want everything to look nice and match. In an ideal world, I only want the original copy that I read first and then just own it. I cull my collections throughout the year. Books that I buy throughout the year, if I don't 100% like them, I get rid of them. I donate them usually to a thrift store or Goodwill or something like that. And then if I've had a book for a really long time and I'm not always rereading it or reaching for it, or you know, if I look at it and I don't feel happy having it on my shelf, I do get rid of it. I personally don't like having copies of books for the sake of having copies of books. There's no hate or judgment to the people that do. I know for a lot of people it's a collection that they feel happy having. I'm not one of those people. I used to live right around the corner from a very wonderful library in Indianapolis, and that's where I would read most of my books. I would borrow from the library, and I loved that. I loved supporting my local library. But since moving and, you know, going from college to a whole new city, I didn't really want to get a library card because I didn't know if I'd be moving again. I didn't know what was going on with my life. And then once I did get a library card, there was the incident. I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, so I have not gone to the library. I did download Libby and I tried, you know, ebooks and audiobooks. I'm still not super into them. Something about a physical copy just helps me focus more, but I am trying to get more into more economical and sustainable reading habits rather than just buying and getting rid of books. I do have a few books that have been on my shelf, and because I hadn't read them, I wanted to challenge myself to read them or get rid of them. My whole goal was to either read them, or if I wasn't, you know, I say jiving. If I wasn't jiving with them, if I didn't click, if there wasn't something I was enjoying about the book immediately, I would get rid of it. I would DNF and then put it in my get rid of pile. Some of the books that were on that list were, many of them were my Dollar Tree books that I was hoping to make content out of because I do the Dollar Tree book reviews. I started with After the Flood, No Sleep Till Wonderland, The Arrest. I'm drowning in books. I need like a little table over here. Crown of Oblivion. And then the rest were just ones that I picked up and I thought I would enjoy for one reason or another, maybe make content out of it, but really it was just supposed to be reading for enjoyment. And that was The Kraken, The Starless Sea, The Song of Achilles, and The Firekeeper's Daughter. Now, the ones that I was like intimidated by would be those last three, The Song of Achilles, Firekeeper's Daughter, and The Starless Sea, just because I've only heard good things about them. I haven't really heard any critiques. I generally don't like books that other people like. Not that, you know, a good book is a good book and we'll call a spade a spade. There is just usually a lot of things about popular books that grind my gears, get on my nerves. There are some popular books that I really like. Gideon the Ninth is one of them. But I'm pretty much a book hipster. I really, really like reading books that other people don't know about. And there's some sort of superiority complex I have about that. And so a lot of times if there's something that's really popular, I'll nitpick it. And I didn't want to do that with this. Or maybe it's not even nitpicking. It's just super popular. I get my hopes up and then it's really disappointing for one reason or another. And I didn't want that to happen with these books because, like I said, I'd only heard good things about them and I really, really wanted to enjoy them. The other ones were just like Dollar Tree books. You've seen my Dollar Tree book reviews. You know how those go. You know that they can either be 5 stars, 0 stars, those kind of things. There's often reasons why they're in the Dollar Tree aisle and not at Target still or Walmart or wherever they come from. I gave myself until the end of winter, so March 20th, which is the official day of spring, to read these books. And like I said, it was either read them or DNF them. And that was more than a month. I started like February 11th, I think. That was over a month and I only got to 5 of the books and I only completed 2 of them. I started to feel like I was just reading to read, like I was just reading to get to the end so I could make content and make reviews, which is something I've been struggling with since starting BookTube and BookTok is, am I reading this for content? Am I reading this because I actually enjoy it? Especially since I do a lot of negative reviews. I'll talk to my coworker about a book that I'm reading and I'm like, oh, this is the worst book ever. This, and this is wrong with it. You know, the dialogue's cringy. The characters are stupid. The story is flat, things like that. And she'll look at me and she goes, well, why are you still reading it? I wouldn't waste my time on it. You know, she can't sit through a bad book. Now, to some extent, I do enjoy breaking down and analyzing bad books on why they're bad, but I've started to wonder, like, am I just putting myself through this for BookTok content? Am I just doing this so that I can have something to talk about when I should be reading for enjoyment? Which is kind of what this challenge was supposed to tackle, is read for enjoyment or get rid of the book. And I struggled with that because the first one I read was After the Flood, and I have a whole video on why I didn't like that. The only other one I actually completed was The Arrest, and it was enjoyable. I talked about how it was weird, and even though I didn't really understand it, I still enjoyed the experience of reading, but it still wasn't like 5 stars. And then everything else I DNF. I started getting angry at myself for not enjoying these books and not being able to push through and read faster. And especially towards the end, more recently, I started getting upset at myself for not reading. I was getting fatigued. I was hitting a reading slump where I didn't want to pick up any of the books, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'll DNF the one I'm currently not enjoying and pick up another one. I just didn't want to pick up any books. The other thing is I had a few books that I had recently bought that I was more excited to read, and because I had set down like a TBR, I wanted to finish that before getting to any of my other books. It is, March 9th now? I don't think I'm going to finish the other 3 books that were in this challenge, and I don't think I want to even pick them up at this point. And that's why challenges don't really work for me. I'm really bad at routines in the first place. I do not have a skincare routine at all. The fact that this is so overexposed, you can't see how much acne and scabs and scars that I have from picking at my skin and not being able to, stick to a routine is the only thing that makes it look nice. I can't stick to routines, and like I said, I have trouble sticking to any of these challenges that I set because I feel a lot of anxiety to finish it and to get the results as soon as possible, which is not great. That's something I'm realizing about myself and something I'm hoping talking about will open up a conversation and a dialogue for other people who feel the same way. Of the 5 books that I technically got to in this challenge, I think I'm only going to keep The Arrest. And I don't even think I'm keeping it because I really enjoyed it, but I think the cover is really cool and it was an enjoyable experience. I have started keeping some books, not just because I super enjoyed them, but because the experience of reading them was memorable. For example, I kept The Guest List, even though I have a whole roast video on why that book sucks. But I still have it on my shelf because the experience of reading it and making the video of it was very memorable and fun, and I might use it again in future videos, who knows. Everything else I'm going to be getting rid of. I'm not even going to talk about After the Flood. You can watch my other video about it. That's the other thing. I was very repetitive. I kept saying the same things. All of the clips were not interesting because I just said the same things about almost every book. I got about halfway through No Sleep Till Wonderland. It just didn't hold my attention. It's a detective mystery book, and I realized that I just didn't want to know the answers. I got to about the middle point and I was like, I don't really care who did the thing that they're, investigating. I don't care about those answers. I got about 4 pages into the Kraken before I gave up on it because the dialogue is phonetically written out and it's the 1800s Newfie dialect/accent, and I just did not have the time nor patience to read through that. Crown of Oblivion was something else I was trying to make into a Dollar Tree book review. Like After the Flood, it was just readable enough that I felt like I could take some notes down and make a video, but I felt like my videos were starting to get really repetitive with the Dollar Tree book reviews because I'm just saying the same things. The characters are flat, this and this happens, and even though it was readable that I could probably finish it, I was not passionate enough. It wasn't, angry enough that I could make a rant review. It wasn't good enough that I could talk about, what I liked about it. It was a very derivative, weird book. I was going to say dystopian or fantasy. I don't really know because this was supposed to be, it's listed as fantasy, but it felt very dystopian and very modern because they had plastic and cars and vaccines and stuff like that, or not vaccines, syringes. Then it was fantasy princesses or something. I don't know. It was weird, and that was off-putting and jarring, so I didn't really like it. And then everything else was super predictable. So I gave up about halfway through again because I didn't think there was enough for me to talk about in a full-length video. And I started losing my passion for reading it. I said this before, The Arrest was the only one I actually completed, and again, I didn't even really understand what was going on. I just really enjoyed the writing style, so that's not really a saving grace and nothing I can really make a whole video about either. Now, these were the books that I wanted to get to, and I held off, again, because I'm anxious to read them, because I'm afraid of being disappointed by them, but also because I always feel like I have to wait to read the books that I'm actually interested in, and I have to get through all of the bad books first, or the books that I'm not super interested in. And that's not a really great way of handling my hobby of reading, because I started losing my interest in reading. What this really did was solidify the idea that I am a mood reader. I need to be in the right mood. I can't lay out books and like dates and times that I'm going to read them, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stick to it. The other thing is I kept buying new fucking books, you know? That's bad. I shouldn't do that. I guess that's all I wanted to really talk about, is that I suck at challenges, and I'm not at the level where I can make creative vlogs about reading yet. I really just want to sit down and talk at a camera, which is maybe my niche. Who knows? I don't know. If you are somebody who cannot, you know, stick to a challenge, or I guess a routine, you're not alone. And if you feel left out by all of the other BookTube reading challenges and things like that, you're also not alone. I feel left out by them too, but every time I try to stick with them, I get really fatigued. I hit a slump, and then all of the books that I want to read are sitting right over there, and I feel like I have to get through books that I'm not interested in at that moment before I can get to the books that I want to read. So don't do that. Read whatever you want to read, and don't feel like you have to stick to, you know, your own preconceived TBR or somebody else's TBR or reading challenge. You know, just read whatever you want, I guess. That's it. That's going to be it for me. Eventually, I will read the other 3 books. I do feel a lot better getting some of the books that had been giving me anxiety out of the way, like the books that have been unread on my shelf for months, getting them off of my shelf and knowing that I was not going to enjoy them. I don't need them to be on my shelf. I do feel a little bit better DNFing and being able to get rid of them. Hopefully, I will take these lessons in stride, and I will think about that the next time I'm buying books, if I can get them from a library first. You know, it's easier to DNF and unhaul library books than it is to unhaul your physical copies that you own and have to get out of your house anyway. Alrighty, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked that video, give it a like and subscribe. And there will not be other videos like this, because this was more of a sit down and chat kind of video. I usually do book reviews and other book related content. I guess this is book related, but it was more emotions. Hopefully this mic sounds 10 times better than just the built-in camera mic. If it does not, I'm so sorry. It was a lot more expensive, so I assumed it'll be better, but who knows. Okay, bye! I'm not just... Bless you.